Eric, one of the things that while we're on the topic of kind of Paul's mission and that, one of the things that he has this passion to kind of preserve history, right? And preserve value. And obviously the ancestry thing is a big lot to do with that. But one of the things that he's observed is, there's these tremendous thought leaders and experts that during their time become well-known, and their philosophies and their systems and their discoveries are championed. And then within a handful of years after their death, they're almost totally forgotten, right? Aside from their family or their close followers. And so part of, in this world of, trillions or quadrillions of pieces of content and knowledge out there, keeping their kind of legacy front and center and making that content accessible, the most important content, is a big part of our mission. Who are one or two? You mentioned Clayton Christensen and Alex Oswalder. Do you have anyone else that comes to mind that you think, gosh, we really ought to preserve their knowledge and their legacy as we move into the future, because future generations may forget or not know it, but they need their contribution?
Oh man, that's a long list. I'll tell you, I'll give you one that interestingly comes to mind. He's had a huge influence on me, but I think his time is still in the making in terms of the impact of his scholarship and thinking. He was my PhD advisor. He stoked the fire of me tilting at windmills. So when I got my PhD, I found him in a business school at Michigan State University. And what he was doing was showing that traditional structures of business systems, particularly accounting systems, were archaic in the face of database technology. So this is back in the early days of SQL. In fact, it was in the days of SQL versus QBE, the IBM fight that was between, what was it, Zloof and I can't remember the other guy, but Bill McCarthy is who I'm talking of. He started looking at data in a really interesting way, where he differentiated views on data from the source of the data and posed this structure, this architecture of what he called business events. That if you accurately captured the business event, semantically accurate, that you could produce any number of views, versus a view-driven system like accounting, where you're going to produce this one artifact and then you constrain the representation of the event down to, in accounting, it's data count and amount.
Right.
So Bill turned that whole thing on its ear, and is still relevant. He's in his 70s and he's still an active researcher and pushing, and it's guys like that to me are really exciting scholars that are willing to tilt at windmills and push against. I think we've lost way too much of the reason that tenure was ever created, and that was to protect scholars against the norm and the traditionally accepted, to allow them to be curious and ask provocative questions and challenge the norm, versus just reverence it and worship it and whatever. So I don't know, that's one example. He's not really well known, but I think over time his scholarship is going to prove to be